Welcome everybody to the 2022 Sim Experience SA MX5 Cup. Let's get our picture in the background. I'm your commentator Dennis Mitchell, and tonight I'm joined by Jason Underwood. So Jason, welcome. Glad to have you joining us. All right, and we're coming to everyone live tonight from Zolder in Belgium. So an exciting track, quite a difficult track, quite technical. We're heading into a 15-minute qualifying session now. So of course is round 2 of the championship, which has been heavily delayed thanks to the Eskom power outages. But tonight's round is round 2 of an 8-round championship. Next week will be Tour Poznan. Round 4 would then be Autodrom Most, then Watkins Glen for round 5, Okayama for round 6. Lime Rock for round 7, Misano for the final round, round 8. Let's have a look at our championship standings after the first round. We have Basil van Rijn taking the championship lead from Jean-Andre du Toit and Sean Olivier. In 4th place, Jandre Dippenaar. 5th place, James Leach. 6th place, James Crook. 7th place, Hardest Boys. 8th place, Dani van Rooyen, who had technical issues. In 9th place, Tian Murray. 10th place, Andre Hildebrandt. 11th place, Hilton Nickerson. 12th place, Herman Nivot. 13th place, Ruan Goos. 14th place, Mona du Toit. And in 15th place, Stan Bezuidenhout. So let's head to some live action at the moment and see what is happening on track. See, some of the drivers are currently sitting in the pits. Qualifying hasn't officially started yet. Gives us a chance to at least then look at the timings and what times have been done. So currently, practice session, Dani van Rooyen topping it by 0.009 from Jean-Andre du Toit. So it's pretty close there. Jason, do you have any track knowledge from this track at all?
Unfortunately not. I can't say I have. But it looks like an interesting track layout. See how the boys get on with it.
Yeah, I think the guys that have experience with Assetto Corsa Competizione, they all know this track because it's in there. And the guys that have been doing sim racing for a lot longer, that might know some of the older Simbin titles like GTR2, for example, they have some experience with the track. Alright, sorry if you lost me briefly there. I'm not sure what's happening. My internet is fluctuating tonight for some reason, so apologies for that. But we are live again. I am just going to double check why, but we seem to have lost some of the things. Let me just get them back up again. Alright, so we are officially live for qualifying. So 15-minute qualifying starts now. Of course, this round is brought to you by Alban Automotive Glass. So any automotive glass requirements for the glass or the aluminium frames, you can head over to www.alban.co.za and speak to Hilke. Hilke can sort you out. So we are now live qualifying. We have just under 14 minutes left in practice. Dani van Rooyen was our pace setter, so let's see if he can get his championship on track now. At the end of the championship, we'll be dropping 1 round, so if round 1 was his worst round, he can at least still make up for it. Something I've introduced tonight as well, just to give you guys a bit more information, is the track map. So if you look on the right hand side of the screen, you can see the track map. Basically the icon colors. Green is the car that you're on board with. Yellow is all the other cars on the same lap. And if you see blue icons, those are guys that are on the or that are being lapped, or a lap behind. So that way you know where you are on the track and who's around you. It just makes it a bit easier for the guys watching.
One thing, Dennis, that I did notice about these cars when I had a bit of a go recently is that you'll find pretty close racing with them. They're all pretty well, so excuse me, pretty well spec'd for good racing, especially with a large group on the track. I'm sure this will be an interesting race to watch.
Yes, indeed. I know certainly from when I did iRacing, this was a car I found really fun to drive in big packs. It makes for extremely close racing. It's also extremely good here in a set of course, and it's one of the most popular cars, which is why we've had lots of guys requesting that we redo this championship. So we had the 2021 season, which was a great success, and so much so that we had a split grid. And this year I thought, let's do something different and have tracks that allow larger grids without having to split it, because unfortunately in the split grid you would have guys that would get faster and faster, and by the end of the race the guys that are in the Division 2 are actually doing times that are comparable to the guys in the front of Division 1. So this series we have bigger tracks that can hold more cars and everyone can race together, and hopefully that makes for exciting viewing.
It's definitely a championship that I wanted to take part in, but due to work commitments and real life, hopefully the next series.
Yeah, unfortunately most of us have to work, so we have other priorities. And while we're watching this, I am just going to break away just briefly. I notice there's an issue here, so I am going to just give you some background footage in the meantime while I sort out what is going on here, because we don't seem to have what we need. For some reason our timing tower has decided to vanish on us. Which is very frustrating. Alright, let's head back to our live footage. Apologies for that, but we don't have live timing for some reason. It seems to have vanished. So perhaps we can just monitor it via a browser at the moment. So currently in provisional pole position we have Dennis Knutzer on a 1:47.648, currently half a second ahead of Basil van Rijn and then Donnie van Rooyen. Our defending champion Dylan Versaki currently in 4th position, and he'd said in the comments before this that he hadn't had much time to practice, so I was pretty convinced that he wouldn't take too long to get up to speed. I mean, he is our current champion, so he drives these cars extremely well, and currently in 4th place, so that's a good start. We currently have 18 drivers on track. The slowest time at the moment is a non-representative time, so that is Brandon Robert at the moment, but he, I believe, is on track at the moment. Stan Bezedenote is currently in 17th place. He's our slowest time at the moment. Also, I believe, on a representative time, so that will improve. So Jandre Duppenaar is currently the slowest car on track, and he's not usually the slowest driver on a 215, so sorry, 159, so I guess that's also not representative. So we will see the times hopefully improving fairly shortly as we see our actual leaderboard times has finally updated.
Yeah, I don't see Zolder, Duppenaar and Basil staying down there at the bottom. They're very quick drivers, just from experience in other championships. So I'm sure we'll see them up there very shortly.
Yes, Basil definitely seems like a driver that's capable of driving anything fast, whether it's a lawnmower or a racing car. So at the moment we have Dennis Knutzer in first still from Basil van Rijn and Donnie van Rijn. So an interesting 1, 2 and 3. Dylan Versaki has been demoted down to 6th place, so he's lost a few places.
It's also nice and exciting. It's the 2 race format.
Yes.
It adds a bit of spice for that second race.
Yes, also with the reverse grid, the top 10 reversed, also it means if you have a bad race, you need to aim for top 10 and you'll be near the front in the second race. Give yourself a second chance. And of course this is a format that we will be introducing when we eventually do the British Touring Car Championship in our Sunday leagues, which I believe, Jason, you will be taking part in.
I most definitely will be taking part in the British Touring Cars. Looking forward to it. My teammate is extremely fast at the moment. So yeah, it's going to be fun. But first, I'm going to finish off the Porsche Cup series, and then we'll look forward to that.
I see a driver that hasn't joined tonight so far is Zolder. He's also one of our faster drivers. So if he does make it before the end of qualifying, then I expect him to be fighting for the podiums. He's of course the brother of Yonder Dupinot. And 2 other drivers that had posted times on the server that haven't yet joined, Stephen Castle and Ruan Kos, also very fast drivers that haven't yet joined. So I'm not sure if they'll be joining us tonight. But if they do, they would put us up to 21 drivers tonight. So currently we only have 18 in the server, but not a bad showing. So 5 minutes left of qualifying. We have a change in the order at the front. We have Dennis Knutzer still in pole position, but we now have Jean de Toy in 2nd place, so Basil van Rijn been pushed down to 3rd. Donnie van Rooyen is currently 4th place. James Crook in 5th and Sean Olivier in 6th. Dylan Versaki now demoted down to 7th.
You've had quite a bit of experience in these cars, Dennis. What's guys that are watching and listening, what's the most important aspect in these MX5s to get a good lap time?
I guess being smooth and carrying corner speed, and certainly your exit speeds, because you're down on horsepower, you can't make it up with the throttle. A good solid exit out of a corner is going to give you good drive, and by the end of the straight you'll be able to make a pass. But keeping them smooth and getting on the throttle early, if you just make a little bit of a mistake, you can lose so much time. So you're kind of driving on the edge the whole time. And even though they're slow cars, you actually really have to hustle them as much as you can. But if you hustle them too much, you lose so much time. And it's actually difficult to make it up with the lack of horsepower.
I suppose being 18 on the grid, you need to maximize all of the above pretty much every lap, because you get one corner wrong and you have 2 or 3 people come past you.
Yes,
Uh,
and certainly with the competition being the way it is, I mean, our top 10, any of them are capable of winning on the right track on the right day. And certainly some of the drivers like Donny van Rooyen, they are extremely fast and extremely consistent. Basil van Rijn as well, extremely consistent. So if you make a mistake and you're behind one of those guys, the pressure's on you not to make a mistake. And it's just very difficult to make up when lap times are, as we see at the front now. Basil has now taken provisional pole position, by the way. Currently 3/10 ahead, but for the majority of the field there's a couple of tenths between each position, so to make that up is extremely difficult. This is, I think, where the reverse grid is so fun for drivers in this category, because catching and passing when cars are so close is extremely difficult. But when you reverse the top 10 and you're now the slightly slower car in the front, you can now defend and have a bit of a fun race defending, which creates perhaps a different kind of environment for the drivers further back that aren't used to it. Now they're maybe not capable of getting past, and they now have a faster driver behind them that's now trying to challenge, so they have to defend while trying to attack. So it just makes the drivers think on their feet a bit more, while giving the drivers a bit more opportunity that don't usually have an opportunity.
I quite like the reverse grid feature. Just, it's being in the front is one thing, but trying to get past, and your racecraft comes into play quite a bit. Trying to make your way through the field. You've got to be extra smooth. You've got to wait. You've got to be patient. And that's what makes it into exciting second race.
And also, depending on the track, some of the drivers need to be a bit more thoughtful of their track position, because sometimes winning the first race, if you can't pass in the second race, you're going to be stuck in 10th place. A first and a 10th maybe wouldn't give you as many points for the round as if you were to get a third and maybe a 7th or 6th place maybe. So they need to also consider the point structure, and to get the most points out of a round is not always necessarily being at the front in round 1 if you're not going to be able to pass in round 2 of the event. Sorry, race 2 of the event.
Yeah, that is true, but tell us racing drivers not to win a race, it's very difficult.
Yes, but you're always going to be trying.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the fun of it. So currently less than a half a minute to go, 15 seconds remaining. Basil van Rijn has taken over at the top from Dennis Knutzer. He's actually extended his lead on Dennis Knutzer. So half a second gap at the moment to Dennis Knutzer. Then in third place we have Zolder de Toy, fourth place Donny van Rooyen, fifth place James Crook. Let's see if those times, we're now into overtime, so the drivers on a lap can still complete their lap. As we see, Andre Besson has now come across the line in sixth place. We see Andre Duppenau heading into the final sector, the final corner now. Can he improve? Currently sitting in 17th place. That is a strange position to see Andre in. He does improve, but only to 15th place. So he'll be aiming for 10th place in race 1, just so he can get to the front in race 2. Brandon Robert has improved to 12th place. DP Boy, I believe, is one of our newer drivers. He hasn't changed his real name. Let's see if I can get his name for us while we're watching the other few drivers crossing the line. I believe that is Adib. So welcome, Adib. Right, as we're now seeing Donny van Rooyen heading towards a checkered flag, let's see if Donny can improve. Currently 6 tenths off the fastest time. Donny is definitely capable of putting in a faster time and does go second indeed. So Donny's going to have his work cut out for him to chase down Basil in the race, but by the looks of things, Dennis Knutzer is now in third place as we see Andre Besson coming across the finish line shortly. Let's see what he does. 1.1 off. What will he improve to, if anything? And does not improve. So I believe Dennis Knutzer and Adib are the only two drivers that will now go on board with Adib. Only two drivers that are currently still on a lap. Let's see if either of them can improve. So Adib now currently, I believe, now heading into the final sector. As we now see Dennis Knutzer. Dennis Knutzer currently in third place, half a second off the fastest time. Let's see if he can improve. Gets a bit of a slide on in the chicane there. Manages to keep momentum up, and looks like he's abandoned the lap, so that's leaving us only with Adib on a lap at the moment as he's heading towards the finish line now. And abandons his lap. So that's it. So let's head off to a ad break, and then we can be back with you shortly. And when we come back, we'll come back with you into race 1 of the 2022 Alwyn Mazda MX5 Cup. We'll be back with you in a moment. Welcome back everyone to race 1. Race 1 of the 2022 Alwyn Mazda MX5 Cup. Coming to you live from Zolder in Belgium. Race 1 is 20 minutes, race 2 will also be 20 minutes, but race 2 will have a top 10 reverse grid. I'm the commentator Dennis Mitchell. Tonight we're joined by Dennis Underwoods. Good evening, Jason.
Hiya, Dennis. Let's get this race on the go.
Let's get it on, yes.
I'm excited.
Right, so everyone is now heading down to turn 1 as everyone is already going live, attacking the track. I'm so used to R-Factor, I was expecting a formation lap. See lots of shuffling throughout the field, ups and downs. The Basil van Rijn still clearing out to the front, but it looks like we have a battle for second place at the moment. Dani van Rooyen and Dennis Knutzer fighting it out hard. The Dani on the inside there. Dani with his Red Bull livery that he's running this season. Looks like Dennis Knutzer Dennis Knutzer's in the number 55 red car, looking to challenge on the outside. Donnie closing the door. Then we see the PZN cars in 4th and 5th place. Quite a few of the PZN panel beater cars joining us.
PZN boys must have got a very big sponsorship. There's about 5 or 6 cars on the grid.
Yes, they're definitely a big team. They're coming at force in pretty much all championships.
Yeah, very much so.
So our leader is currently a PZN driver. We have 4th and 5th place PZN drivers. We have, let's see, I'm sure there are more. I believe Monia Dutoy is a PZN driver. We have Yonder Dippenaar as a PZN driver. And then of course Wilra Dippenaar, who isn't here tonight, he's also a PZN driver. So lots of PZN representation, and I believe Andre Besson, who's just joined, he's also PZN. So plenty of PZN. They're definitely trying to get their name out there, so if you have any panel beating requirements, give PZN panel beaters a call. So as we look at the timings at the moment for lap 1, Basil van Rijn has got the fastest first and middle sector, but Dennis Knutzer is setting the fastest final sector there, as we see him now challenging the rear end of Donnie van Rooyen at the moment for 2nd place. The gap currently 1.1 seconds between 1st and 2nd, but only 0.2 between 2nd and 3rd.
I feel that battle for 2nd and 3rd is going to be brewing all race long.
Yes, definitely. It looks like the battle for 6th place is quite intense as well. About 3 cars fighting there. As we see Sean Olivier going on the outside of Andre Besson. I think he'll have a nice inside here, so he should get the position. And he does indeed. Nice move there by Sean.
Good move. Very good move, that. Seems to be a lot of respect between the drivers, which goes a long way in motorsport.
It does. Unfortunately, the first round tends to always be the round where the guys are finding their feet, but they tend to get more respectful as the rounds go on. So far already, only round 2, we're seeing a lot of respect, which is good to see. As we see, Andre Hildebrand is one of the drivers that is currently taking part in the South African Virtual GT Championship, which is part of the ATK Pro Series. So anyone who's interested in that and wanting to possibly win a potential GT3 drive, then go and give that a go. So Basil van Rijn not setting the fastest time, only a 48.0. The drivers behind seemingly able to compete. Donnie van Rooyen on a 47.7 on the last lap. Then it's good to a 48.2. Yonder Dutoy, sorry, a 48.0. So several drivers able to compete. Sean Olivier on a 47.9. So Sean looking good pace on his pace, sorry. So can Sean get past James Crook and possibly make his way forward to the battle for the lead? Currently Sean is our driver in 3rd place in the championship, I believe, so clearly got the pace. As we see Dennis Knutzer now having a look at Donnie van Rooyen. I think the pace between them is extremely close. We see Sean there. Oh, we see, who was that? Was that James Crooks that now made a bit of a mistake and now under threat from Andre Besson as Sean Olivier has been released? I'm sure he's absolutely saying thank you to the gods for that. So now can we see Sean Olivier close the gap, as we see him making a mistake as I'm watching him getting a bit sideways on the dirt there. And now Andre Besson has got a run on him because of that. So let's see if Andre can catch him into the final sector. You see James Leach Jr. quite far down in the pack. Usually James is near the front, so I'm not sure why James is struggling so much here. But as long as he can get into the top 10, he'll at least be a contender for race 2. So So as we see the lap times coming in now, Basil van Rijn on a 47.4 on the last lap, 47.6 for Dani, 47.1 for Dennis Knutzer, 47.5. So the pace at the front is extremely hot at the moment. Not much between them. Looks like the current pace setter is Dennis Knutzer at the moment, so he's in third place, giving Dani van Rooyen a real hard time. So let's see if the two of them can keep up with Basil van Rijn and challenge him.
This hot pace must be quite taking its toll on the tyres. Let's see who can keep the tyres all the way to the end.
Some of the tracks, the tyre wear seems a bit more harsh than others, I guess, depending on the asphalt and what it's like. We don't often see the guys struggling with tyres. Towards the end of the races they sometimes do, but most of the drivers don't. These cars do also have traction control that the guys can toggle on and off, so they at least have that aid to help them. Right, so we have the fastest first sector for Dennis Knutzer on this lap, but he didn't improve in the middle sector. Let's see what kind of lap times we get as they come across the line. As we see Hilton Nixon challenging Andre at the moment, Andre Hildebrandt. Very plain skin that he created, but it looks fantastic. Just a little bit of red trimming around the edges. Alright, so a fastest first sector for Dennis Knutzer, but a fastest final sector for Jean de Toy. So our leader on a 47.7, second place a 47.8, third place a 47.8, fourth place a 47.5, fifth place a 47.8. So extremely close times. Fifth and sixth place were both on a 48.0, so not much between the top seven. Eighth place is currently Dylan Versaki, and I'm surprised he's having a bit of a hard time. His last lap was only a 151. I was expecting him, he certainly showed it in qualifying. He had the pace and then slowly worked his way down as we see a move. Oh, that didn't go too well. I believe that was Jean de Toy that went for the move. I'm not sure if he intended that. It looked like a bit of a late move there.
Slight misjudgment of its braking markers, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. He came from quite a far way back, so I don't think that was a intended pass. I think he just had to go with the flow at the time.
As you were saying before, top 10 drivers are all within 0.4 of a second. Now, all you need is one mistake and very difficult to catch that gap up again.
Yeah, so I guess we should do a top 10 check at the moment. So currently driver in 10th place is Bjorn Buchner. He will be our pole sitter for race 2, so he's in the perfect spot. Mona de Toy will be alongside him on the front row. So currently we have Dennis Knutzer in second place. It looks like Dennis has managed to get past Dani van Rooyen without us noticing. I don't know if you noticed, I didn't notice. I know we saw the move on Dani, but I presume Dennis had got past already at that point. Possibly Dani had made a mistake, and that's why we had a bit of a move as well by Gendre. Maybe he thought that he could go for it because Dani was a bit slow, off footing there. But at the moment Dennis Knutzer has been released, so he's now in second place. I believe he has the fastest lap of the race at the moment. So Basil van Rijn has seen him coming, he's just at the fastest first sector, so he's definitely responding. Currently 3/10 faster than Dennis in the first sector. Let's see how their lap times unfold. So Gendre currently in 7th place after that failed attempt to get past Dani van Rooyen. Let's see if he can get back through the pack. And like I said, with the reverse grid, he's currently worked his way down to 7th place due to an error. But maybe when he works his way back up again, he'll actually at the end of the meeting not have lost too many points. depending where the other guys finish in the next race. Obviously, if Basil were to win race 1 and race 2, that's a different story. You see Tion getting a bit sideways there.
At what stage do current, say, positions 7, 8, 9, 10 start thinking of strategically for the second race?
I guess it depends on the drivers, if they are regulars there. Some of the drivers don't usually pay attention to things like that. Some drivers do. Some drivers just rock up the race to have a bit of fun. But the drivers that take it a bit more seriously, for example, Dani van Rooyen, he takes it very seriously. I think someone like Dani, if he was in 10th place or perhaps 11th place towards the end of the race, he would know and be fighting and do everything he can to get that 10th place to salvage race 2. But some of the drivers wouldn't be aware of that, and they wouldn't try any harder because that's not something that they are aware of at the time. So Zolder de Toy making a move there on James Crook. So slowly coming back, so up to 5th place now. So 2 places made up in the last lap. We have Sean Olivier currently just under 3 seconds behind Dani van Rooyen. We'll see if he can catch up to Dani. At the moment he's about 3/10 of a lap faster, so I don't think he'll have enough time to catch up. Although Dani van Rooyen just had a really bad middle sector of a 33.6, so that's about 2 seconds off the pace. Zolder de Toy just set the fastest middle sector on 31.6.
Zolder is on a mission.
Dennis Knutze is slowly catching, but the last lap he was only 2/10 faster than Basil van Rooyen, so he's got the pace to catch, but he doesn't have the time to catch. You see a move there, I believe that's James Leach Jr. Andre Hildebrandt in the mix with him as well as Hilton. James getting a nice move up the inside there. Not sure why James is so far back. I believe he would have made a mistake to be down there because I think he was in 12th place earlier. So on the previous lap, Basil van Rooyen did a 47.1, so extending his gap by 2/10 over Dennis Knutze on a 47.3. So Basil has responded. Let's see if his tyres last towards the end. Maybe he's just been managing his tyres. We had a brief glimpse there of our Dylan Versaki, our defending champion, whose car is the car gracing the thumbnail for the YouTube videos. He deserves that, being the current champion. Tion having a look at Yonder Dippenine, getting it all out of shape and losing it. And once again we see Dylan Versaki. So Dylan currently in 8th place. It's a position I was not expecting him to be in, but at least he will be near the front end for race 2. So perhaps Dylan can salvage a decent position and start his championship from here, because he didn't have a good first round. Load shedding kicked in just towards the end of the one race, so he lost out some points there, so that'll probably be the round that he drops. So fastest lap of the race, of the race previous lap was Sean Olivier. So it looks like Sean, actually no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, it wasn't the fastest. I'm not sure why it showed up as purple. Sometimes the timing screens gets itself a bit confused. So on the previous lap it looks like Basil is getting on no problem with his lap times, but every other driver seems to be dropping off by almost half a second. Jean du Toit is the only other driver. There's a driver going off in the background there. Who was that? Was that James Crook? I believe it was. I'm not sure what happened there. Did he perhaps get a wheel on the dirt? Right, Sean Olivier right now behind Dani van Rooyen. So Dani has slowly slipped back into the clutches of Sean. So Sean's now fighting for a podium. We see James Crook now behind Andre Besson. James getting all sideways. So James not having a good round tonight. James is usually one of our faster drivers as well, so I'm not sure what's happened to James. We're watching Adib at the moment challenging Brandon Roberts, two of our newer drivers. And we see Bjorn just losing it there behind them. Thankfully the car behind managing to get past nice and easy. So Jason, these cars are very competitive, and I guess the British touring cars are going to be more competitive because they're giving us front wheel drive and rear wheel drive, whereas these are only rear wheel drive. So we'll have two different types there, both extremely competitive, but I guess certain tracks would favour front wheel drive over rear wheel drive, and possibly if there's any rain, I think the front wheel drives would excel more. I imagine that the BTC CE cars are going to be extremely good to watch as well as these.
Yeah, the BTC cars are, as you say, you've got the front wheel drive and the rear wheel drive. Now, rear wheel drive in the rain, not very fast, but on the longer circuits, the rear wheel drive cars come into their own. So it'll be a good bunch of racing. Obviously track dependent. But I think if we can get a mixture of front wheel drive and rear wheel drive, and not everybody goes for front wheel drive, then I'm sure we will have a good championship.
Yeah, definitely. Right, less than 2.5 minutes left of race 1. Currently Basil van Rijn has extended his lead to over 4 seconds from Dennis Knutzer. Sean Olivier has taken over from Donny van Rooyen for 3rd place. Andre Hildebrand is currently in 15th place, as we see him on screen chasing down Andre Duppenaar. Andre Duppenaar not doing, see some sparks coming the back of Andre's car there. Andre Duppenaar really struggling in these cars at the moment, not too familiar with this track. I'm not sure who that was. I believe that was Adib that just lost it there, unfortunately. Or Brandon, it might have been Brandon. So, 1.5 minutes left to go. So Donny is at least hanging in there with Sean, so fighting for the podium. Let's see if he can fight back. I'm surprised that Donny hasn't had the pace here. He seems to be struggling at this track. Donny's usually one of the drivers, he puts in the most laps. He's extremely fast, extremely consistent, and definitely always a contender for the title. This is definitely not around for him at the moment. Struggling here with his pace. So quite a battle going on here. Hilton under threat from Andre Duppenaar. Andre going around the outside. He got a bit of momentum out of turn 1 there, and now sweeps around the outside of Hilton here. So nice racing between the two of them. Hilton, I believe, is also a fellow YouTube streamer, so you can always look up his YouTube channel, and I believe he is streaming this race from his point of view.
It's always nice to watch a driver's YouTube, just to get the perspective of the driver itself.
Yes.
And what they go through and what they have to do, because it's not all plain sailing. So yeah, give him a follow, go have a look and see from a driver's point of view. It's quite interesting.
And I believe the two drivers on track now, Hilton and Brandon. Brandon, I believe, joined us thanks to Hilton. Hilton had joined us and encouraged Brandon to join us. And now they are driving bumper to bumper in the race. So I believe the leader is now on the final lap. For some reason it always says that the leader has 2 laps to go, but I believe he is on the final lap now. So Basil, the gap has actually come down slightly to Dennis Knutzer. It was over 4 seconds, it's now almost 3 seconds. So I'm not sure what has happened with Basil, if Basil has maybe made a mistake. His previous lap time wasn't too bad. Although the previous lap, Dennis Knutzer did a 47.1 and Basil did a 47.8. So I'm not sure if Basil's just rolled off because he knows he's got such a big lead. But the gap is now under 3 seconds.
I've never known Basil to roll off. He gives it all every single lap. Fair play to him.
Yes. So I'm not too sure what's happened with his pace at the moment, but it's definitely dropping off. So 2.5 seconds of Basil is definitely slowing down. I don't know if he's got an issue of some sort. So Dylan Vasaki has worked his way backwards in the race. He's now in 9th place. He was previously in 8th place. So he has been passed by Monet du Toit, but that puts Dylan on the front row in race 2. I'm not sure if that was a strategic move by Dylan. I would assume that he would at least be going for the most points, but Dennis Knutzer has just done a 46.8, the fastest lap of the race. That's 9 tenths faster than Basil van Rijn. So they now are officially on the final lap. The gap is 2.5 seconds to the lead. I don't think he's going to have enough to catch. He's about 9 tenths faster, so I think he would need a few more laps. So unless Basil makes a mistake, Basil should be safe. So as we're on board now with Donnie van Rooyen, battle for the podium, the final podium spot. Sean Olivier in front, getting a bit sideways there, fighting a bit of a slide. And we see Dylan chasing down Monet here. Lots of sparks coming from Monet's car as it bottoms out there. These cars are of course running a fixed setup. Oh, we see James Leach just losing it there. It looked like he had lost it. The car in front just ran slightly wide, so James actually managing to pick off the place. I believe that was Adib, who has just lost out on his 10th place spot, which is, he might be cursing because he's just lost pole position for race 2, and that has now given James Leach pole position for race 2.
That's a vital overtake that to get pole position for the next race.
Yes, indeed. So as we see Basil coming around the final corner, heading to the finish line, and takes the checkered flag. So race win for Basil van Rijn. And Dennis Knutzer coming across the line to take 2nd place. And in 3rd place, Sean Olivier from Donnie van Rooyen. Nice close battle for the final podium spot. And in the background we have Jean-Louis du Toit. And just behind we have James Crook and Andre Besson. Nice result for Andre Besson. Solid 7th place. James Crook also making his way forward in the race. Started a bit rocky, but he's made his way up to 6th place. He might fare quite solidly in race 2. I'm gathering he didn't have too much practice because he's got faster and faster in the race.
That bodes him well for race 2.
So James Leach coming across the line, taking the final spot for pole position in race 1. Dylan Vasaki ahead of him. So Dylan Vasaki will be in 2nd position on the front row of the grid, with James Leach Jr. taking pole position for race 2. That should be an interesting race. Andre Dupinard taking 12th place. Hilton Nixon taking 13th place from Brandon Roberts in 14th place. Andre Hildebrandt coming across the line in 15th place. Quite low down the field. I was expecting a bit more from Andre as well. Bjorn Buchner having a bad round. He'd gone off a few times. He will come across the line in 16th place. And our only real retirement is Thierry Murray. I'm not sure, we had lost a driver or two, but Thierry Murray is in the pit, so he will start from 17th place, unfortunately, for race 2. Alright, so that's it. We're going to head off to an ad break. We will be back shortly. So hang on, get your tea out, your coffee out, and we'll see you shortly. Alright, welcome back everyone. We're now here for race 2 of the championship. Round 2, race 2, coming to you live from Zolder in Belgium. So I am your commentator Dennis Mitchell, joined once again with Jason Underwood for a 20-minute race 2. As we see our reverse grid, so currently in pole position we should have, I'm not sure if this is now showing the correct times here. James Leach Jr., yes indeed, he's in pole position from Dylan Fasaki as they pull away. Heading down to turn 1. James has the inside. Who's on the inside there? The live timing is showing all the wrong time, so I'm not too sure. So that was indeed James Leach Jr. from Dylan Fasaki, and Mornay du Toit is now slipped up into second, but already Dylan fighting back on the inside there. So quite a battle going on at the front already as the drivers are fighting here. James is being allowed to work his way forward. Donnie van Rooyen is usually very quick to get through the field in race 2. He's already up to 5th place. So let's see, Sean Oliver is 7th, Basil van Rooyen is now in 8th place. Dennis Krutzer is currently 10th and actually just gone back and now back up to 9th, so a lot of jostling going on as you see a car going off in the background. I believe that is Sean Oliver. Looks like Sean and James Crook might have had a coming together. Oh, as we see a bit of a moment there. Jean-Andre du Toit losing it. Looks like Dennis Krutzer was the other driver that had to take avoiding action there. So the timing screens are going crazy as drivers are going up and down, up and down. So in the meantime we have James Leach Jr. in front with Dylan Fasaki, Andre Besson. Donnie van Rooyen now in 4th place, so Donnie's at least managed to make the most of this. Basil van Rooyen now 5th place, so Donnie's going to have Basil on his rear end shortly. The times between them are extremely close, and they are bumper to bumper at the moment, as we see them on screen at the moment.
I got a feeling that battle is going to go on all 20 minutes long.
Yes, as we see Dylan Fasaki's taken over at the front now from James Leach Jr. And Basil van Rooyen and Donnie van Rooyen has got past Andre Besson at the moment, so those two are going to be working their way forward, I'm sure. So lots of battles going on, trying to keep up with the timings here. Guys going forward and backward, all sorts of incidents. Currently in 16th place we have Dennis Knutze. He just hit the fastest final sector, so he had a bit of a bad lap. Ended up going off, I guess, due to having to take avoiding action. Let's see if he can make his way forward. Brandon Roberts having a look there at Sean Oliver, and as a result loses all momentum, now coming under threat from Jean-Andre du Toit, I believe. Oh, yeah, Jean-Andre du Toit, that is correct. And looks like he's just made a mistake and into the barrier. Will he be able to recover the car quick enough? He's losing all places and he's currently down to last place. That's the problem with these cars. Now to make that up if you don't have a massive speed advantage is very difficult. So we see Sean Oliver and James Crook going side by side here. Some good racing between the two of them. Lots of respect there. I believe James will have the inside here. But Sean going around the outside. Wow, that was a good move. As we see Dennis Krutzer now on Jean-Andre du Toit. So Basil van Rooyen has got past Donnie van Rooyen. So Basil is on the charge at the moment.
It will be interesting to see how Basil and Donnie go through this, where they're now 3rd and 4th. Do they follow each other right to the front, or do they actually battle each other? It will be interesting to see what their tactics are.
It looks like Basil is pulling away now from Donnie. There's almost a second gap at the moment, so Basil is catching James Leach quite quickly. I imagine he's going to get past James Leach. Well, James Leach can make his car extremely wide. I know that from personal experience. He can be very, very defensive. Very clean and very defensive. So let's see. Some close battles going on here. Look at that. Sean getting a nice drive there while the two in front are battling. Sean just sneaks past. I believe that was Tian and Andre Hildebrandt. A little bit of a contact there. And Sean managing to hang on to the car. I'm sure his heart was in his mouth there. Now making a move on Hilton. So Sean really going forward quickly here. Up to 9th place now. So his next target will be our new driver Adib. He's quite far up the road, almost 2 seconds up the road. But the pace that Sean's got, I'm sure he'll catch fairly quickly. So Dylan Versace's got about an 0.8 of a second gap on James Leach Jr., who's currently got about a second gap on Basil van Rijn. I thought that was going to come down a bit quicker, but it looks like lap times have kind of neutralized on the previous lap. Basil van Rijn doing a 48.6, as did Dylan Versace in the lead. James Leach Jr. 48.8, so very, very close times. Donnie van Rooyen was faster than a 48.5 in the previous lap. So Donnie actually is responding, so maybe Donnie will follow. Judging by the comments that I had seen, Donnie was not happy with passes made in the previous race. So he might be driving angry at the moment, and we'll just have to see how that goes. But as we say that, it looks like James Leach Jr. has made a mistake. He's now down to 5th place. So Basil van Rijn is now a second behind. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or possibly contact between Basil van Rijn and James Leach Jr. We'll have to find out from the drivers afterwards. James Leach has now worked his way back past Andres up to 4th place now. Let's see if he can catch up to them. You see Dennis Knutzer in 11th place challenging Hilton there. Looks like a little bit of contact there. Looks like Dennis had to back out of it there after the contact. Hilton defending for all he's worth at the moment. He's now got Dennis on the inside of him. No, Dennis is slotted in behind. Right behind them we have Tian Murray just sitting there lurking, waiting for his opportunity. Andre Hildebrandt in the background in the nice yellow car. Hilton up the inside, but Dennis able to carry a bit more momentum around the outside. And I believe that will be the position done for Dennis. He shouldn't have to worry now. Looking already up the inside there of... I'm not sure, was that James Crook in front of him? I believe it is. Hilton running wide, they're losing all momentum. Drivers behind having to take avoiding action. Doing well to avoid. Contact there between Andre Hildebrandt and Tian Murray, I believe. Some of the drivers getting lots of slide in the corners, throwing the cars in, fighting the slide, losing a lot of momentum unfortunately by doing that. So at the moment we've had a change at the front of the field as well. So Basil van Rijn has indeed taken the lead with Donnie van Rooyen in 2nd place and Dylan Versace in 3rd. Dylan Versace is at least still on the podium, but will James Leach Jr. be able to challenge him? It looks like the other challengers won't be at the moment. Dennis Knutzer is in 10th place at the moment. I don't think he will be able to make it to the front. 10 minutes left in the race, so we're at the halfway mark. But I think the gap is a bit too big. Dylan Versace's pace has at least increased in this race. Currently only a 10th off the pace of Basil van Rijn. And almost identical times. 1,000th of a second off the time that Donny van Rooyen did on the previous lap.
I wonder how Basil's going to play out this now. Is he going to go for it for the last 10 minutes, or is he going to try and preserve some tyres? We saw he fell away at the end in the first race. So
Yeah.
let's see. It could be an interesting end to this race yet.
Yes, and also Donny seemed to have problems in the last race. I'm not sure if that was tyre wear or what had caused him, but he seemed to drop off pace-wise. So Dylan Versaki is usually very good and consistent, so he might actually become a threat as the race evolves. So at the moment our top three are, each driver is separated by about actually at the moment Donny van Rooyen is half a second behind Basil van Rooyen. Dylan Versaki is second further back. Times are fluctuating. I'm watching times now. It's a second, so it was obviously just in a braking zone or something. You see Sean Oliver all over the back of Bjorn Buchner. Now Sean has seemingly gone backwards. I'm not sure if he's made a mistake or if he's had contact with someone. But he was definitely further up within the top 10. Dylan Versaki and James Leach having a battle there. Looks like James Leach has got a bit of a run on Dylan. Is he going to go for the inside move into turn 1? We see Bjorn Buchner having a bit of a moment there. So previous lap times, Basil van Rooyen did a 48.2, Donny van Rooyen did a 48.3, Dylan Versaki a 48.7 and James Leach Jr. a 48.6. They are currently our fastest drivers on track.
Even in these early rounds of the championship, it's pretty important. If you're not having a good round, just bag as many points as you can. It helps towards the end of the championship. So the guys that are in the mid pack at the moment, they've got to be pushing for top 10 or even higher up. And the guys in the top 10, if they don't have the pace, then just bag as many points as you can.
Yes,
that will help.
And speaking of the championship, while that's up, let's just get this schedule up. I'll leave the other stuff there just so guys can keep track of things. So we still have 6 other rounds apart from this round. So Tour Poznan next, two races there at that round, 2 races at Autodrom Most, then Watkins, Glen, Okayama, Lime Rock and Misano. So lots of points up for grab. Currently the points system, it's 50 points for a win and you drop 2 points per position. So potentially 100 points per round is still up for grabs. Plus you actually get the extra point for fastest lap and for pole position. So Dennis Knutzer currently in 10th place, so he's slowly working his way forward. At least made his way up into the top 10. So James Leach and Dylan Versaki still glued together. And just in front of them we can see Basil van Rooyen and Donny van Rooyen as well. Pretty close between the two of them. That's staying at around about the second mark. Looks like Dennis Knutzer is making his way forward nicely with Jean-Louis de Toy in front of him now. It's probably going to be his next target. It looks like he's got the pace, so he should be able to get past. James Leach Jr. at the moment seems to have the pace but struggling to get past Dylan. So Dylan's obviously just fast enough to keep him behind. And we have a DNF for Bjorn Buchner. So we did see Bjorn making an error and going off, or I presume it was an error, so possibly having too much damage and choosing to retire. And we see quite a lot of action happening further down in the field here. lots of clean side-by-side racing happening, which is good to see. Drivers at least getting the hang of driving side-by-side in these cars again. The new fastest lap set by Basil van Rijn now as well on a 47.552. That's about 3/10 faster than what Donny went. Dylan Versace on a 48.5, so Dylan almost a second slower on that lap. It looks like first and second are starting to break away now. They're in the 47s and currently the only drivers in the 47s. Another thing to consider that I noticed when I raced these in the previous championship, tyre wear in race 2 seems to be a thing when you're behind a car. I'm not sure if the buffeting from other cars affects the tyres somehow, but it did seem like tyre wear when you're behind cars was worse than when you were out front. So that's another thing to consider, that drivers that are coming through the pack, maybe it's just because they're having to work the tyres hard to get through the pack, but definitely seems like tyre wear is an issue. So we'll see as the round concludes if there's any tyre wear, but at the moment it looks like Basil van Rijn doesn't have any issues because he's cleared off. He's 2 seconds ahead of Donny van Rooyen at the moment.
Yeah, I think with regards to the tyre wear, like you said, coming from the back of the grid or the middle of the grid, you're pushing probably harder than what you're pushing up front. There's a lot more racing, a lot more overtaking, later braking, which all impacts tyre wear. So yeah, it's easier up front if you're not being challenged, but it all makes for good racing at the end of the day.
Yes. As we see the lap times lighting up as the drivers cross the line at the moment. So Dylan Versace just doing his personal best of a 48.3. I think that's the fastest, 48.326 is the fastest lap he's done of the race. And Dennis Kritzer is now up to 7th place, so he's actually doing pretty well on a 47.449 in the last lap, so that's a pretty good lap time and the fastest of the previous lap. So he has Yandre Dupinard now in front of him, and I believe going around the outside of Yandre, so that'll be another move done. As we see Adiba and Yandre Dutoy going side by side, so lots of close racing here, guys, side by side pretty much every corner. Of course, in racing, that's the fun part, is side by side, trying to outsmart the drivers. That's definitely the part that makes it the most fun. Wow, we see a guy, Yandre Dupinard, getting all out of shape as he bounces over the curbs there. Nice three-way battle here. So Yandre Dutoy is now caught up to... It looks like Sean Olivier is going back and forward through the pack because Sean Olivier is there with them. And he was in the top 10, then he was down in 12th, 13th, now he's back up in 8th. So Sean going back and forward through the pack quite a lot.
Going back to the close racing, Dennis, what I've found is normally the slower cars provide the closest racing.
Yes.
I'm not sure why, but slower the car is, the more fun it is to race. It's just...
I guess because you have more time to judge things. So in a Formula 1 car, for example, you have milliseconds, and if you make a mistake, you lose a lot. Whereas in a slower car, you have longer braking distances, which makes it much harder to make a mistake. Right, so we're into the final minute of the race. We have Basil van Rijn. Of course, we'll have him finish this lap and then do another lap. Basil van Rijn currently ahead of Donny van Rooyen by 1.2 seconds. Dylan Versace 4 seconds behind. So Dylan Versace is hung in there. If anything happens between the guys in front, he could definitely capitalize, as we see the gap between Donny and Basil down to, well, fluctuating a bit, 1.1 at the moment. I guess it's braking zones, and that's going up again, 1.2 now. So quite an eventful race for most of the drivers going up and down through the timing leaderboard there. Lots of incidents happening as we see them running wide or having incidents with other drivers, taking avoiding action maybe. So Basil van Rijn is now on the final lap.
These last couple of laps can either make or break an event. You can have a really good event from something of nothing. If you didn't do well in the first race,
yes.
If you did well in the first race and you lose it in the second race, you know it can be a horrible thing. So these last couple of laps are probably the most important in both races, in my opinion, anyway.
I think another thing that's nice about a double race is the guys that suffer in race 1 tend to come into race 2 with our, well, I've lost in race 1, I've got nothing to lose mentality, and often by doing that they actually find more speed and they realize they can go faster, and it helps them to get further up the grid for the following rounds. Brandon Robert in 15th place chasing down Andre Hildebrandt. So the battle at the front is now under a second, so at the end of race 1 we had about a 2-second gap that was being chased down. Donny van Rooyen is within the second, so Basil's going to have to be very careful if he makes a mistake here, as we see Basil now heading into the final 2 corners. Donny is right by him now, look at that, Donny's right there on his rear bumper there. So within 7 tenths and now 8 tenths, 7 tenths across the line between first and second. Well done to Basil getting the double there. Donny van Rooyen second, and Dylan Versaki doing well to get 3rd place in race 2. Andre Besson coming across the line getting a solid 5th place. James Leach was in 4th place. Dennis Kritzer managing to work his way up to 6th. Definitely had the pace tonight. Having a bit of incidents in the start of race 2, but otherwise, yeah, solid race from Dennis as well. Jean-Louis de Toy 7th, Sean Olivier 8th, René de Toy 9th. James Crook will come across the line shortly for 10th as he does. Jean-Louis Dupinot 11th. And the D. Camildian, I'm not sure if I'm spelling that right. He was in 12th place, Tian Murray in 13th. Brandon Roberts in 14th. We see Tian coming across the line. Now we see Brandon and Andre. Hildebrandt right behind him. And Hilton Nixon will be our final driver in 16th place, with Bjorn Buchner unfortunately getting a DNF. Hilton looked like he's getting all kinds of wiggle on there as he got a bit of curb. Car's looking a bit second hand. Right, and that's Hilton across the line, so that's the end of race 2. So let us now have a look at our upcoming races. So we will be having, of course we've had round 2 now. Coming after this we will have Tour Poznan for round 3, then we'll have Autodrom Most for round 4, we'll have Watkins Glen for round 5, Okayama for round 6, Lime Rock for round 7, and for round 8 we will have Misano. Let's jump over to... Sorry, I'm getting all things all wrong here. I'll get this right eventually. Our championship standings before this round, this will of course be updated after tonight. Basil van Rijn was our championship leader from Jean-Louis de Toy and Sean Olivier. Jan-Red Dippenaar in 4th, James Leach Jr. in 5th, James Crook 6th, Hardest Boys in 7th, Donnie van Rijn 8th, Tian Murray in 9th, Andre Hildebrandt in 10th, Hilton Nixon in 11th, 12th place Hammer Nivout, 13th place Ron Goos, 14th place Mona de Toy, and then 15th place Stan Bezuidenhout. Stan unfortunately was trying to join tonight but having all kinds of connection issues. Alright, so let's head off to an ad break. When we come back, we will get the top 3 drivers and find out how the race went from their point of view. So stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are now joined with not the top three, unfortunately. We have first and second. Unfortunately, Dennis Kutz isn't available, so we've brought Dylan Fasaki, our defending champion, into the chat. So let us get our interviews up and running. So we have Basil van Rijn taking the overall victory for the round, Dani van Rooyen taking second for the round, and Dennis Knutzer taking third for the round. Unfortunately, replacing him will be Dylan Fasaki. So let's start with Basil. Basil, you had a great round one. You've had a great round two. Round two, you seem to just have the pace by a mile over everyone. But in race two, Dani came alive. He was matching you for pace, and it looked like the two of you would go right to the end, and you did. Unfortunately, Dani couldn't keep up with you. So how was the race from your point of view?
Yeah, race one was was a bit stressful. I didn't log in on practice. My steering had a problem, but race one went good, and then race two, in the middle of the race, I just kept it clean, and Donnie was catching me. But all in all,
With your
was
help.
nice race. I tangled a bit with Dylan at the first corner, I think. He was sliding it, and I went next to him, so we touched a bit there. But otherwise, it was clean.
Good.
It was a very awesome race.
Well done on your double victory.
Oh, thank you, Dennis.
And then Dani, good to have you back on the podium spots again. Unfortunately, no victories just yet. I'm sure they're coming. You had the pace tonight, but you also had lots of incidents tonight. So give us a rundown of your race tonight. It looked extremely eventful.
If you think Dennis drove angry, I was quite cross with some guys in the first race because they were driving like idiots, to be honest. So I was not in a good mood to race, but tried my best.
Yeah, you certainly had the pace, and race one you seem to have a lot of incidents. Race two, did you have many incidents in race two?
No, not that one. No, not really.
Yeah, race two seemed like quite a
clean
good race.
Yeah.
And you got through the pack quite nice at the start as well. You certainly got up to fifth pretty much within the first lap. So
that helped a bit.
Yes, and you didn't have any hardware issues, so you actually got a good result for a change.
No disconnections, nothing.
Yes, so well done on that. At least you got second, and that was a solid points haul at least. So you're still fighting for the championship. So
I'm trying.
Yeah, and then of course once you drop your worst round at the end of the championship, you'll still be there, and maybe you'll get to take home the trophy for a change.
Yeah, well, Basil's fast, so I'll try.
All right, then we don't have Dennis. Instead we have Dylan Fasaki. So Dylan, a great race for you tonight as well. You said you didn't have any practice coming into this round, and in qualifying you looked like you were quite strong up to a point, and then suddenly the faster guys came in and you were dropped from third all the way down to seventh, I believe. But still having quite a solid race in the end, and a solid second race.
Most definitely, like you said, I don't really have any practice. Seeing as load shedding always was on the same time as when the races start, so unfortunately I didn't actually put the effort into practice because load shedding would eventually just stop in my track, so I didn't practice. And then we got the great news that load shedding has stopped this Tuesday, so I just jumped in, practiced for that half an hour, and it was quite a bit of a time off. Race 2 started quite well. I could have ended up fifth if I'm not mistaken, and then James Crook unfortunately touched the curb and knocked me off on the track and ended up ninth. Second race kept the first spot for quite a while, and then unfortunately the faster guys just came flying by. I tried to keep Basil and Donnie behind me, but like Basil said, I dropped the bloody car into third gear in the corner, and it pushed my car sideways, and then it just took me by. But I think overall it was quite a fun race. But I think this track is a bit on the tight side with track limits, because I think everybody just abused it in a way, even though the track limits didn't actually show a track cut. I think everyone abused it in a way, and some of the guys got cross with each other. Eventually, the server not showing actually track cuts and stuff like that. But I think this was quite not a good race in that matter of sense. But otherwise, it was fun.
It's quite strange because in practice it seemed like it was registering all the cuts, but in the race it didn't seem to, so I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you can do in practice for high 48s and then in a race you do 47s all of a sudden.
Yeah.
No ways.
But yeah, there was some amazing racing there. Even though we saw lots of guys taking advantage of the track limits, still we saw some really, really good side-by-side racing throughout the field. Jason, do you have any questions for any of the drivers?
Yeah, firstly, well done to everybody. I thought my first commentary spree, I thought that was quite fun to watch and entertaining. Just a question to Basil and Dani. What was your tactics? Obviously in race 2, coming from further down the grid and trying to pass the slower guys. Maybe we can start with Basil.
Oh, I mean, the only thing you can do is keep it, the first 2 laps, just keep it calm and, lap by lap, that's the best to do it. I mean, to dive into the first corner, it's not worth it. It will never work. And if you take someone out, I mean, it's not good racing. So, yeah, lap for lap, and then if you can pass 1 or 2 guys per lap, then, yeah, you sort it. That's it.
And yourself, Dani?
Yeah, well, the thing is with the reverse grid, you just need to keep it clean as far as possible and just see what the other guys, the slower guys, what they're doing on the track and where they're driving. And you can just try and read them and hope for the best.
Good stuff. But well done to all 3 of you. Very good racing, and it was very fun to watch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
All right then, guys. We're going to close out the interviews if you guys would like to give shout-outs. So let's start out to Basil. Basil, any shout-outs from your side?
Yes, just thank you for PZN and our team Redline. And then also the league sponsors, Alvin, and then to Sim Experience, Dennis yourself. To Dani and Dylan for always good racing, clean racing. The respect on the track is always there between us. Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Thank you for the league.
Thank you. Pleasure. And Dani, yourself, any shout-outs from your side?
No, just want to say thank you for the racing and the streaming. And let's hope for a better result next time.
Thank you. And Dylan, any shout-outs from your side?
Thanks you, Dennis, for hosting always an amazing events. Not only for, I think, 2 events, I was going for 3 now, so well done.
Thank you very much. You, of course, are a double champion with us, so maybe it'll be a 3rd championship by the end of the season.
This season, I don't think so. I really don't believe so. I think Basil might take this one, but I think it will be tight between Dani and Basil, so I'll just watch from behind.
All right, well done for that. Then I'm going to just say goodbye to you guys. I'm going to drag you all out of here for now while we prepare to have everything else prepared for the upcoming rounds. So myself and Jason will just let everyone know that the following round, so that is of course the end of round 2 from Zolder. So that is race 1, race 2 from Zolder completed, round 2 completed. So for the following rounds, we will be heading over to Poznan in Poland. So a fantastic track. Jason, you've got experience racing there with us. We've raced in R Factor 2 around Poznan in several different categories. So a fantastic flowing track. And we did that with the BMW M2 Cup, which is kind of similar driving wise to these cars. These cars are a bit more underpowered, but also a fixed setup series, a one make series, Cup series. It makes for extremely close racing and also a very tight track, very hard to pass on, but lots of flowing corners.
Yeah, 100%. It's flowing, it's tight, and very good exit speed was the key, especially with the BMWs anyway. It's not impossible to pass. Good racecraft will get you up the grid. The race 2 reverse grid will be vital for the guys in 7th, 8th, and 9th, even 10th to keep that lead because they can defend there. So it'll make for some very good racing. Can't wait to spectate and commentate again. Looking forward to it.
Indeed, and thank you for joining us tonight, and looking forward to the next round. At least you've got the first one under the belt now, so we can just keep improving.
100%. Thank you for inviting me, and yep, we'll see you in Poland.
All right, thank you, and thank you to everyone else for watching. And remember, if you enjoyed what you watched, to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified of any upcoming content. And I'd like to say thank you again to Jason Underwood for joining us tonight and being a part of this. And of course, thank you to Albin Automotive Glass for sponsoring the event and always backing us and doing everything they do for us. If you have any automotive glass requirements, whether it's a glass or the aluminium, you can head over to www.albin.co.za. And then, of course, this coming Sunday, we will have round 2 or round 3? I've just gone blank. Anyway,
round 3.
Round 3 of the Porsche 2020 Porsche Super Cup from Kyle Army, and we'll be joined then by Sean for commentary as well, who's a ex-real world commentator and has experienced lots of commentary around that track in the real life. So interesting to have his take on the track. So that'll be quite fun. And Jason, of course, you'll be taking part in that event. We'll also hopefully have a guest person joining us in the commentary booth for that race. So fingers crossed. We'll announce it on the day. But until then, thank you for joining everyone, and we will catch you all on Sunday for round 3 of the Porsche 2022 Porsche Super Cup from Kyle Army. Good evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.